Some Google services are now available through a config file that you get from the developer's console. This config file helps by doing such tasks as keeping track of your project number, which will later be the sender ID used to identify your messages as distinct from another app's. When you generate this file, also take note of the server API key because you will need this value later on. Once you have your config file, you need to make sure it lives in the app or mobile directory of your project so that the Android framework can find it. Then you need to tell the Android framework that it is there by modifying the build.gradle files. And the top-level build.gradle, you're going to add a dependency on Google Services. And then in your project-level build.gradle, you'll introduce the plugin for Google Services. Now, to use Google Play Services specifically, you'll need to first install the library through the Android SDK Manager. You'll find Google Play Services under Extras at the bottom, but you should also see Google Repository there. Go ahead and install both Google Repository and Google Play Services. The repository is where all of the jars you will be referencing are, so don't skip this one, while Google Play Services will give you access to offline docs and code samples. Then you will need to reference the new library in your app, so go back to your project-level build.gradle file and add the compile rule for Google Play Services. The cool thing about this library is that you can reference the specific bundle that you care about. In our case, that is Google Cloud Messaging, and you can avoid compiling the entire library into your app. Also, the version number will likely have changed from what you see here, so use the Android Studio recommendation, or check the documentation for the latest version number. Finally, because it is hard to anticipate the state of a user's device, you must always check for compatible Google Play Services APK before you access Google Play Services features. There are two approaches to this, and you should choose the one that best fits your app. You remember Rado's explanation of the Android activity lifecycle, right? So you could handle this flow while your app is active at the moment you wish to make the API call. Or you could check for the SDK when your app first starts and then attempt to resolve errors such as a need to install or update or enable Google Play Services at the beginning of your app's execution. If you're checking early, you can do so in onCreate so that you can configure various aspects of your app based on the result. But you may prefer to make this check or an additional check in onResume, because you never know how the user will use their device and you don't want to end up in a wonky state. If your features are dependent on the expectation that Google Play Services is available, you'll need to check here. For Sunshine, we are only going to check at creation because we are going to design the messages separately from the rest of the app. If the APK is unavailable, we will never enable the GCM feature and the user will not receive weather alerts. In this way, the user should never even notice that something is missing from the app, as the normal app flow is untouched, and that is what it is to fail gracefully. So, at the creation of the app, we will check for Google Play Services with a call to Is Google Play Services available? Then we will attempt to solve any errors that we can, such as prompting the user to update.